Of course, we will analyze the fifth draw in a row. We will analyze Juventus 0, Milan 0 of yesterday. And I want to start with the very end of the game. What happened after the triple whistle from the referee. The whistle from the entire Allianz Stadium. And you know what? I totally agree with them. I totally back up the whistle after the game. For what reason? At least me, personally, I would have whistled as well in the stadium, because if your name is Juventus, regardless of the moment that you are in, and if at 30 seconds of the end of the game, especially with a man like Igor Tudor on your bench, you are not able to push, you are not able to try at least, but you are just managing, waiting for the second to go over, you totally deserve on a 0-0 to be whistled. And on that one, I totally agree. Look, it will be a balanced criticism video. Yes, of course, it was a slow game. Yes, of course, it was a boring game. We can also say it was an ugly game. The enthusiasm was already gone after the third draw, after the fourth draw. But that draw of yesterday, the fifth one, in the fashion, in the way that it came yesterday, well, it made it even worse. It's not a psychodrama like I was possibly predicting yesterday, but it's still a disaster, because the two next coming weeks without Juventus playing on the field, without having the possibility to win a game, will be annoying, will be frustrating, will leave Juventini probably away from the Juve world, surely away from the GJustjuve channel. Forget about huge big views, about big enthusiasm of people that are curious to know what is happening with our beloved Juventus. It's annoying. It's a moment that is annoying as a content creator. It's a thing that is annoying as a fan, as a supporters. Look, yesterday I wanted to win. I always told you that. Did I believe that we can win? Was I convinced that we could win? No, I was fearing the game of yesterday, but I wanted to win it. And no, I'm not happy with a draw like yesterday. Another draw. A lot of things didn't work. It's a game that could have ended 0-1. Could have ended 1-0, probably a bit more 0-1 for Milan than 1-0 for Juve. I'm absolutely aware for that. So there will be criticism to the coach, to the players, to the performance in today's video. We'll go again with the tops, with the flops, with an advice for Igor Tudor towards the end of the video. But there will be more criticism than positive, but pay attention, because I will be extremely unpopular. Not everything is to be thrown away in the garbage of the performance of yesterday. There were some things that I appreciated. So if you were expecting, if you wanted a video a la worst game ever, worst coach ever, worst players ever, this team is dead video, forget about it. Just close the channel, close this video, and come back to another day. Maybe in 2 weeks, when we will maybe win against Como, Real Madrid, Lazio. Let's see what will happen in these games. Look, it's October. It's the month of the Libras. I am a Libra myself, so I want to put some things in every bucket. On the right, on the left, on the positives, on the negatives. Ciao Juventini of the world. My name is Giuseppe. Welcome back on the channel. If you have the courage, if you have the strength, don't forget to subscribe, and also to put a maximum of like if you are still there. If you didn't close the channel, because now we go. Look, yesterday in the post game, immediately after the game, I was not furious like a lot of people were maybe expecting me to be. Like they were themselves extremely furious, and I didn't agree with a lot of comments like worst game, worst coach ever. Why? For what reason? Well, because 2 days ago on the 4th, on Saturday, I made a video speaking about Tudor, with a lot of things that I was blaming him, that I didn't find it, and I wanted him to correct. And you know what? Even if the game was boring, ugly, whatever you want, well, there were some points that I wrote down that he was able to correct in the game of yesterday. We are analyzing Juventus Milan, don't forget about that. Like, for example, that I was doubting his greatness in terms of being a tactical coach. I was really doubting that, and also the fact that he couldn't manage a lead, or at least what we have seen in these first 7 games of the season, couldn't manage a lead or couldn't manage a game that was closed at 0-0, and playing against one of the masters, Max Allegri, that is a tactical genius. Well, I was really fearing it, and yesterday he showed me that he was able to do it. He showed me that he was absolutely aware of the conditions of his team, physically, technically, the strength, but also the weaknesses of that team. So yesterday, according to me, he understood understood the game before the game, during the game, also with the subs. He really understood it. Then what I'm blaming him, I will tell you later, because there are of course things that I want to blame him. What he also corrected was the management of the number 9, something that I'm blaming him since a few weeks now. Well, yesterday he gave continuity to Jonathan David. Today it's too easy to go and blame him. Why did you play the Canadian player? Why did you give him a chance? Probably Dusan Vlahovic would have been better. Probably Openda would have been better. We don't know. I was asking Tuchel for continuity, and that's what he did yesterday. Even if he went with a huge big miss against Villarreal, even if yesterday during the game another big miss, that probably would have given us the lead at that specific moment. And another thing that he was correcting, which I appreciated, was that he didn't create chaos and confusion during the subs, what I really didn't appreciate in the last few games. You like the subs, you don't like the subs, you understand them or you don't understand them. This is another discussion. This is open for debate. But yesterday, the subs that he made had a meaning, especially the first 3 subs that he's making at the 69th minute. They were a meeting, and it was clear for the team. The team totally understood it and probably changed the game that was really going towards Milan really dangerously after that penalty, after Juventus losing that momentum for a moment. Tudor was not correcting the game in terms of let's totally changing and let's go and win it, like we saw in a lot of games this season, where in the last 20 minutes he goes full power, but he was able to address this, to stop that dangerosity of Milan. Now, of course, we go toward the thing that I didn't like yesterday, and there are a lot, because, of course, if Federico Gatti is your striker, the most dangerous striker, we have a problem. If every ball needs to go towards Kalulu so that he's the one that is free and going up and carrying that ball there on the right side, trying to go or with a shot or with a cross or with a decisive pass, we have a problem. We know it. If Tudor is not being Tudor anymore with this team that he has, we have a problem. Look, I want to say that Tudor yesterday was not brave. And where do we understand it? In not the first 3 changes, but the 4th change, that second moment of change at the 86th minute when Rogani going out. Because Kostic instead of Joao Mario, you're sending a message of not being brave in these last moments. If you play like we did, and what I started the video with the last 30 seconds where Juve is not even putting that ball away, is keeping it, waiting for the triple whistle, you are showing that at that moment you told the team to not try. And this is something that is unacceptable, and is showing that yesterday Tudor was not brave. Yesterday, we was not brave. We were brave against Dortmund. We were brave against Inter. We were brave in other moments of the season. Yesterday, we were not, and I didn't like that. I didn't like that we never played vertical. We were always trying to play horizontal, going towards or a Chico, hoping that he was doing something, or trying in some moments to go vertical, horizontal, trying to find or a Cambiaso that was overlapping with Yildiz, that was totally yesterday erased for the game because of his physical condition. But we were not dangerous with our wingers that were quite wide, etc., not vertical at all, and also not scoring 1 goal more than the other philosophy. These are the things that I was actually saying, Tudor, I want you to see doing these things, because I would love to see what you were praising, that you were telling us that was your philosophy. Play vertical with 1 more man there in the opposition half, going and pushing up front, not tracking back. I want some solutions. I want to attack. I want 1 more goal. And these are the things that yesterday we didn't see. Look, the attack is not working. We tried Vlahovic from the start. We tried Openda. We tried Jonathan David from the start. We tried yesterday at a certain moment for 20-23 minutes. We started to see a 3-5-2 with 2 strikers. We tried a lot of things. At the moment, what I don't like, what I didn't appreciate in the game of yesterday, is that with 1 or with 2, whatever, at the moment we didn't find a way to be really dangerous with, on paper, the strongest attack of Serie A. When nothing to lose, this team is looking like Igor Tudor, is what I actually praised him for the 7 first games of the season, that when there is nothing to lose anymore, we go, we try, we attack. Well, yesterday, this was gone, and I didn't like that, because yesterday, probably, and that's what I understood from the game, there was really something to lose for the very first time this season. There was something to lose. There was that psychologically losing a game against Milan, giving away them 4 points and having 3 teams above us with +4. Having 2 weeks of international break, having an Allegri winning in our stadium, probably also the position on the bench of Tudor being totally not only by the fans, that is already in doubt, but maybe also from the management. So yesterday there was something to lose, and it was not a Tudor team in the last 15-20 minutes. Look, tactically, if you want to go towards tactics, Tudor decided to switch to a 3-5-2 at the 70th minute. Why? Because Kenan and Chico were extremely tired, but also because the team was tired, and because at that moment it was clearly Milan that was starting to play. A Modric that was invisible, really well blocked also by the dirty shadow work of Weston McKennie in that first half, started to grow. And that penalty comes from a fantastic pass of Modric. He started to have more position, more space on the field, more freedom to play his game, and he started to grow. So he goes towards a 3-5-2 where Weston McKennie, that was in the shadow doing dirty work, was really interesting in the last 20 minutes. Subbing in Joao Mario and Jegrova would have been probably a sign of courage, but according to me, and here I am the most unpopular ever, probably a sign of stupidity. A huge big risk, because we know with Joao Mario and Jegrova are probably not the most tactical players that you can have in this moment in this Juve. This would have been probably the moment where Milan would have won the game. They would have been really dangerous. It would have been a huge big risk. Of course, on the other side, you are admitting that you don't want to win that game, that probably you don't have enough to beat this Milan. And when you're doing that already at the 20th minute and then repeating it at the 86th minute, of course, if you're Juve, you cannot be happy, especially with a Tudor that should be the one that believes in it until the end. I gave myself 3 reasons to the big question why Jegrova didn't play yesterday. The first one is because nobody here in this room, but also the ones that are watching, are perfectly aware of the physical condition of Jegrova. It's something that we will maybe discover during the international break, because he has been called up by the Kosovo coach. So let's see how many minutes he will play and how he will play, with what intensity he will play them. Because of course, if he's going with twice 90 minutes, delivering a fantastic, beautiful champagne football, probably he could have done a bit more minutes than he did against Villarreal and against Milan, which means 0. But at the moment, we don't know. Uno. Second reason that I gave myself, tactical reason, tactically a risk, because we know it. You have a Edon Jegrova that could have created superiority, could have created one more man, could have created something also on the side of Bartesaghi that was already booked, could have created something. On the other side, it could have been really dangerous, like we saw in the last game that he played, I believe against Verona, giving the ball to the opponent, not really succeeding in beating his man against the Milan. That could have been really dangerous in counter-attack. And that's the second reason. And that third one, and we already spoke about it as well, is because he was scared to lose the game, more than confident to win the game. 3 reasons why Jegrova, according to me, didn't play yesterday. But that's a problem when your name is Juve, when you're playing at home. Yesterday, more than ever, I must say, and I must admit, that the bad mercato was exposed. The new players are not performing. We didn't see Joao Mario, we didn't see Jegrova, but the players that were there that we signed, Openda and Jonathan David, were not playing. And yesterday our bad mercato was exposed. Like I always told you, this team is incomplete because we are missing key players in key roles. A midfielder, a right wing back instead of Kalulu, for example, is obliged to play there. Yesterday our mercato was exposed. Now, top and flops individuals, can we go for it? Well, yesterday we cannot really speak about top performance like peak performances, of course. Chico was the most dangerous player as long as he had energy. The only one that you said, something could happen there. It's not the first time this season, so it's an important player in that beginning of the season for Juve. Locatelli, after 8 games, is our best midfielder, more than Thuram. I don't know if it's unpopular or not, but it is a reality. Rugani is a valid alternative. That's probably one of the things that I'm blaming also Tudor. He could have probably anticipated playing Rugani, maybe against Verona, or maybe in other games to actually rest Bremer and not obliging Bremer to play game in, game out. It's too late, but now we have a fact Rugani could possibly play as an alternative. Weston McKennie, I don't know if I want to put him in the plus, I don't know if I want to put him in the minus. I criticized him yesterday for his invisible performance when he had the ball, because he didn't want the ball, but yesterday he had one task, and I think it's also managed by Tudor. Press, 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 run, run, run. But I really appreciated not only the press and run. In a way, it was not really effective, but I really appreciate the 20 minutes where he went in that 3-5-2, which shows us that he has some energy in the leg, but probably is also showing us that playing with 3 midfielder is the solution. What I didn't like, or that worried me yesterday in terms of individualities, Thuram. Thuram entered and he was walking. That's a problem, guys. Huh? That's really, really a problem. I hope he goes to France national team. They say go back to Torino. I really hope that he can really rest for 2 weeks. Gatti is a danger. He's not a striker. I don't speak about strikers, about the La Rovesciata bicycle. I don't care. He's a defender, first of all, and yesterday he was really dangerous. At the moment, it's not a good moment for Gatti. What about Jonathan David? Guys, he needs to step up. And now, I know, because yesterday I was quite curious about reading a lot of fans' opinions, and I found a lot of Lille supporters that were saying this is exactly Jonathan David, one that has so much difficulties, probably one of the worst player signings of the world in these few first months, August, September, October, November, and then he finds a way, December, January, February, to become Ronaldo, the Brazilian one. Great, but here at Juve, you cannot wait until December, January. We need him to step up immediately. An advice for Tudor to close the video of today. Yesterday, in the post-game conference, he said a coach must adapt to the players that he has at disposal, but he must also insist on what he believes. Because that's why you are a coach, that's why you are in charge, also for defending your own ideas. Well, my advice for him would be, Igor, listen to this video. Don't adapt too much to the opponent, to change the game because of the opponent, to change the way that you are playing. Yesterday, in the 5th draw, we saw again a 5th different story. You have the remontada against Dortmund, full of energy and belief. In the end, yesterday, a passive game where you don't try. There is a world of difference in these 5 games. Well, don't adapt too much to the opponent. Show us what you believe in. You tell us. A coach is paid also for his beliefs, for what he believes in. So show us that. It's really important. Starting against Como and then Real Madrid and Lazio before having an easier on paper calendar. But show us. Really show us. Ragazzi, that was my post-game of Juventus-Milan. If you are there because you wanted to hear what I wanted to say and you enjoyed it, put the maximum of like. If you don't enjoy, appreciate the effort with a maximum of like, and then you close the video. Grazie, forza, Juve.